Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another ranked ladder game. This time around, we will have Beasty facing off against Demu on Hillandale, with Beasty having the Abbasids under his command on the northern side of the map in the color teal, and to the south, we will have the Chinese for Demu with the color blue to the south. Now, you look at this matchup, this is a classic boomy matchup, or at least it used to be for a while. Abbasids playing 2 TCs, 3 TCs, 4 TCs, 27 TCs. It's something that you associate with them frequently. Chinese, of course, they can play into Song Dynasty, 2 TCs. Rarely you even see 3 TCs in Song Dynasty. But this is a matchup that traditionally goes very long, focuses on the eco at the beginning, and then once both players have reached like 100 villagers, you start the onslaught. Now, I think in the current meta, there are a lot more options available. The Abbasids can go up with the military wing. They can get some presence out there with spears and archers thanks to that. That could limit the Chinese players' ability to expand initially. Could possibly even punish stone miners, or, as I said, limit the placement of the second TC. Chinese, they can play into the Chukonu, something that they could have done for a long time, but we have seen an emergence and a larger focus from the players on very heavy Chukonu builds. 2 TC Song Dynasty into just a flood of Chukonu. Sometimes even 100 of those Chukonus are out there. Now, one of the things that's interesting to note with this map is how these two forests have spawned in the middle, kind of creating a semi-blockade on this side. I think this is actually problematic for Demu. The thing is that if he wants to sneak out of his base, his options will be a lot more limited, because he cannot just sneak a unit out, like, let's say, a monk to yoink a relic here. If he wants to pick this relic up, he needs to move to the south and then move north, or he needs to walk around this area. This is... I'm not saying this is benefiting anyone. Maybe it's a little better for Beasty, but it's definitely an awkward spawn to look at. It's kind of splitting the map in half as well. I think if, especially if Beasty gets some walls going over here, he could limit Demu's movement a lot. Now, notice one of the little details over here that Demu is doing. He's got the hunt near the mill, but he's not taking the deer. The reason why he's not taking that is because he's getting taxed based on the drop-offs that he's making. Turns out that with the deer... Am I right about that? I might be wrong. Anyways, I think at one point I talked to Salami about this, and he explained to me that dropping off deer or dropping off sheep is actually a lot better than dropping off deer. Might be related to the walking distance, but anyway, the idea is that the tax that you get is based on the resources dropped off here. And that's actually a little bit more effective at the beginning with the Chinese on sheep instead of the deer. And obviously your feudal age is going to be fueled by that tax code mostly. So timing that right is a critical thing. I would actually need to look into why exactly this happens. I totally forgot, and right now I'm just having a bit of a brain fog. But luckily, I don't have to evaluate that further because there is something more interesting to look at here, and that's Trade Wing. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I did not expect a Trade Wing here, but I'm not against it. One of the things that's intriguing to look at is that if a player plays very eco-focused, if they just play into 2 TCs, walls, very defensive strategies, the easiest way to punish that is with trade. If your opponent establishes no map control, you can get away with the greediest of all trades. And the thing with the trade is that the return of investment comes in much quicker than it comes in for the TCs. Town centers, you need to collect the resources for them, stone, wood, build the TC, collect the food you need to make vills, make those vills, and then those villagers obviously have to gather the resources to justify their cost. Now with the trade, the entry barrier is much smaller. Markets are cheaper. Traders themselves, you can start adding them without having to wait a lot for the resources to pile up for the second DC. And they also bring in a lot of resources very quickly. In fact, when you go up with the trade wing, you also get 3 traders right from the get-go, something I always forget about. So that's also an added benefit for Beasty. You see, Demu, he's just now going to get to the point where he's going to drop the Barbican for Song Dynasty, I do believe. In fact, he's low on gold for that. He's mining stone, so he's going to play second TC, but he's yet to drop the Barbican. This is the perfect setup for Beasty to trade in, by the way. This guarantees Beasty that he's not going to get harassed, and he's going for some early walls. He isn't even bothered by the possibility of a horseman being there, because he knows that there is going to be just no aggression coming from the Chinese. If this was against another civilization, something that's way less associated with heavy booming, he would be a lot more cautious. If he was playing, let's say, Abbasids, or against the Abbasids, he would at least need to contemplate the possibility of the opponent Abbasid player going military wing, and then getting some spearmen and getting some archers out from the military wing that could threaten these villagers. That's an option. But when you play against the Chinese, there's basically no threat like that. You can see that Beasty doesn't even have the scout. Actually, he does have his scout near the enemy base. I do not know how long he had it nearby, but he has 100% confirmation on no aggression coming from Demu. And it looks like Demu isn't even going into Song Dynasty here. Now, when it comes to the timings of the second TC versus Song Dynasty, it's always an interesting debate. The key thing to understand is that Song Dynasty unlocks the Chukunu. So for a long time, what pro players said was that if there's any risk of getting attacked, it's better to go Song first and then second TC. If there is no risk, it's probably better to go 2 TCs first and then Song Dynasty. Now, Demu is going to spot the trade wing, so he knows that there is going to be little aggression coming in the next few moments. He's fine with the 2 TC build. But at the same time, he should also get worried about the fact that his opponent is trading. Beasty made a Camel Archer, by the way, to clean up the wolves. Now, the right choice here for Demu would be to expedite his progress into Castle Age, play like a semi-fast castle strategy, and get some palace guards out there. He cannot really get through the walls, but the base of Beasty is still wide open, and Beasty isn't expected to add a lot of army soon. At least not army that's able to deal with palace guards. So one of the things that Demu could do is get to Castle Age quickly. It would be an interesting thought, but I think he could maybe even justify rushing Castle over Song Dynasty. Feels like a very weird thing to do, although he's mining gold very heavily. And I think he's gonna do that. He's going to skip Song Dynasty. This is something that you rarely see, but in this setup it's actually reasonable. As I said, trade is basically the counter to a 2 TC or 3 TC boom. So having Song Dynasty over here won't be sufficient to compensate for your weaker eco compared to trade. But Castle Age opens up the opportunity to go for palace guards, and that will help you punish Beasty for having no army on the field. Castle Age will be affordable now for Demu, and I think he will try to hide it. He's actually dropping the clock tower to the front. If this gets spotted by Beasty, he needs to rush his own Castle Age too and get some Springles going. Assuming that there will be Nest of Bees, of course. There's the barracks. Now, you don't need a lot of gold for palace guards. Demu has more than enough, and he's dropping a second barracks as well. Beasty is yet to spot the clock tower though, but he saw the gold miners. This is something I've kind of highlighted in some of my previous videos. That's a beautiful find by Beasty, by the way. Focus down the lowest HP villager, gets a pick here in just a single arrow being shot. Anyway, based on the amount of gold miners that your opponent has in Feudal, you can get a pretty good idea on whether they want to go into Castle or not. Especially in a Chinese matchup like this, I think Beasty knew fully well that his opponent was going into Castle Age, despite not having vision on the landmark itself. There is the barracks, there will be palace guards. Now Beasty's position could be somewhat troublesome here. Here's the thing. He doesn't have any army that's capable of dealing with palace guards, and he cannot rush Castle Age. He can click as early as possible, but he needs to wait 145 to get there, and that's a problem. Now, he's doing the best thing that's available to him right now, and it's actually Camel Archers. These bad boys do have 12 base attack, So they do pretty well against these armored targets as well. The best tool that the Abbasids have in Feudal against armored targets are the Palace Guards, or the Camel Archers. So against the Palace Guards, these Camel Archers will be valuable. Love this little aggression from Beasty, harassment coming in from multiple directions. He's trying to force those Palace Guards to chase the Camel Archers instead of just marching towards his base. And he's buying a lot of time to get to Castle Age with. Now on the way with the military wing. That's going to give him 2 Camel Riders, though those are pretty much irrelevant. Bigger thing will be Composite Bows and Boot Camp. Especially Boot Camp, because against Palace Guards he will play crossbows initially. Textiles coming in here for Demu. He's still afraid of that Camel Archer harassing him, and he's right about that. Camel Archers will once again swing back. Demu is now focusing his attention towards the base of Beasty. That's what he needs to do. He's also being slowed down quite heavily over here. Trying to play from triple barracks. He's not supervising either of these barracks though. So the production of Palace Guards is rather pedestrian. And this is something that's buying a lot of time for Beasty. Beasty, who by the way has a crazy resource income from this trade. He's got solid 1,000 gold per minute at the 11-minute mark. Just goes to show how efficient trade is compared to an eco-focused build. And Demu did the right thing. Demu had a way better build here than going for a standard Song Dynasty 2 TC boom would have been. It's just the fact that Beasty's response was clear to this. Walls early, buying time with the Camel Archers. You see, he's actually harassing the Palace Guards. Camel Archers, they're fast. So are the Palace Guards, but Palace Guards are still a little slower than the Camel Archers. And this is actually one of the unique tools that the Abbasids have available to deal with early Castle Age aggression. Camel Archers, over time, they can grind down these armored units. Now, usually the issue that you face here is that you don't have the time to build the Camel Archers. They take a long time to build. And the Palace Guards just flood you. But in this instance, Beasty has the walls. If Beasty didn't have the walls, he would be dead by now. The Palace Guards would just run past the Camel Riders or Camel Archers and just flood the eco. But with the walls up, they cannot commit to the torches, otherwise they get picked apart by the Camel Riders or Camel Archers actually. I'm always confusing the two units, but the Camel Archers will pick them apart if they try to commit against the walls. Now there are some crossbows as well, and Beasty managed to buffer this aggression up very well. Now he has functional trade, his eco is a lot better. In fact, with the resource income he has, he could be flirting with Castle Age in the next few minutes. But for now, he's just going to get some crossbows going. Wouldn't be shocked to see him drop a keep as well. Indeed, he's mining stone. And if that happens, Demu's gonna be in a tough spot. He's gonna get beaten to Imperial very badly. And Beasty's got a fully set up eco. He's sitting at 90 eco, most of that being trade. And he can turn that eco into an army very quickly. So, for Demu, even just walling up and booming, dragging this game out to a late game scenario, is not something that's realistic. So what could Demu do here, you might ask? I guess the best option for Demu would be to try and poke around this area. Well, first of all, he could try playing Horseman, but I don't think that would work. He needs something that can take down those Camel Archers. But he definitely should try to poke these areas and divert attention from his base. That's where it starts. Try to poke around the walls, force Beasty to chase you. Alternatively, he could play into Nest of Bees. If he did that, the Camel Archers would struggle to fight against those Palace Guards, or at least it would be more difficult to do so. Stone Wall's now coming in for Beasty. He was thinking about the same thing as I was thinking about. He just wants to make sure that the Palace Guards cannot punish him. Love to see how Beasty's playing this very safe. He has no intention of winning this game in the next few minutes. He's playing for a long game here. But he's setting himself up well for this. It's not like he's saying, okay, Palisades are enough. He is going for 100% security, and it's paying off so well. There's a keep here, but that keep should protect the hunters for the time being. This Camel Archer is just so pesky and annoying here for Demu. Not a single keep here on the front line, and I do see a farming transition in progress right now for Demu. Now he's trying to get some stone walls up. Will be just a little too late. He might get the walls up, but he is going to lose some villagers on it. Looks like Beasty will find the opening, will march straight into the base of Demu, and now villagers will start to get picked off. Farming transition will be halted. We know this. When you're transitioning to farms, it's the most vulnerable time of the game. Now he's out of food here on the hunt. You can see that. He's trying to get Imperial Palace going. He's actually trying to go into the Yuan Dynasty, get that speed bonus for the Palace Guards. Now taking an engagement over here. Those Camel Riders trying to focus down the Nest of Bees, so are the Ghulams. Villagers have been sent to repair. Nest of Bees are getting some good value for themselves over here. Slowly focusing down the crossbows and the Camel Archers. And it looks like Demu is cleaning this one up. Ghulam still trying to finish off the Nest of Bees. Villagers are gone from the repairs though. And this, even though this is a cleanup for Demu, is still way better for Beasty. He has killed 13 villagers, has not lost a single piece of eco so far. He's up by 40 eco. He's got 2,600 gold per minute. That's actually better than the entire resource income for Demu. Crossbow's actually marching on the south. Demu, I'm not even sure if he noticed this just yet. Villagers are being picked apart. No reaction from the vills. Now Palace Guards will be sent over here, but Beasty is just having a field day over here. 21 villager kills. Relics are slowly being brought in by Demu, but that will not compensate for this massive eco deficit. And now Beasty can pretty much do whatever he wants in this game. I feel like the doors might be locked shut, and it looks like Demu wants to play into Pagodas. I did not think about that, I'm gonna admit. So Pagodas will give you a decent trickle of resources. It's gonna help with the stone especially. It's good for the wood and the food. Obviously lovely for the gold. But the big thing is going to be the stone in the long run. Just obviously stone is a lot more finite. That's something that is going to be valuable as we move on. But first he needs to survive. It has to start with a keep being dropped right over here. That keep has to be up like right now, otherwise these units will just run past the Barbican. Palace Guards will try to find an opening to the north. Once again, they will be greeted by stone walls. Beasty is just not giving an opportunity for Demu to break in. On the other side, here come the crossbows, here come the Ghulams. They will focus the vills, and again, as good as those Pagodas are, they will not help you overcome a villager deficit of this extent. Palace Guards, nowhere to be found. Nest of Bees will be focused down by the Ghulams. A couple of crossbows will be caught by them, and the keep does go up, but the casualties are just mounting too high here for Demu. He has lost 37 eco, and for the first time in this game, he finds an opportunity to raid. It is going to be on these exposed berry villagers. He retaliates in a decent fashion, but he just lost way too much eco. If these Palace Guards break in, there might be a glimpse of hope for him, but there is Imperial Age on the way for Beasty. He is picking off all the vills from Demu. We're looking at less than 100 population for Demu. Beasty's almost pop-capped. He's got a fully functional trade going. And even this counter-attack from Demu is just falling apart. I think at the very latest, when Beasty reaches Imperial, he's just going to tap out of this one. Palace Guards once again bumping into the stone walls over here. Imperial Age just 20 seconds away for Beasty. Just look at this trade for a moment. In fact, let's take a look at that trade. 83 traders at the 20-minute mark. If you had any questions about how strong trade can be, I think this game answers it. And we are seeing a new meta emerge. We have started to see this for at least a couple of months now, but now I think players have fully realized that the easiest way to counter a full TC eco-focused play is to trade. If your opponent doesn't have map control, you can get away with all the trade, and that will be way better than a TC boom. I think given the circumstances, Demu has done the best he could. It's just the trade being very strong, and Beasty's setup being so well thought of. He didn't give a single window to Demu to counterattack. He could have just kept the palisades without any stone walls. Could have said, look, I will just be the aggressor. I do not need to get these stone walls going. But he didn't. And this is a big difference maker. Even at the highest level, sometimes you see players not getting those stone walls going, leaving flanks open without walls. And those can be difference makers in games like this. If the stone walls weren't completed, the palace guards probably would have had a lot more opportunities to counterattack. I don't think that would have been enough to swing this game. Beasty had way too big of a lead, I think. But he just simply gave no window for Demu to recover. Constant pressure, and he was fully walled back at home. No chance for Demu to counterattack. Once again, hopefully you've enjoyed watching this video. If you did, I greatly appreciate a like and a subscribe to the channel. These metrics help me a lot. And once again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.